So this is how one card broke a game. It's not for everybody, but I used to play Hearthstone a lot. I got really, really, really addicted to it. I probably spent like, oh fuck, I don't know, probably like 200 or 300 hours into this game. I played it forever. So
When it comes to
I want to
digital
watch
card
it.
games, it's very easy for the developers of the game to design a card that is super interesting and has a crazy mechanic without really thinking what it's going to do to the game.
Bro,
Sometimes when
right?
you make it
Hearthstone, it was so addicting. Like, I remember I used to, at one point, I used to play a priest, and I would basically, this was like very super early on, I would spam the Berserker card and try to get him as powerful as possible, and nobody knew how to silence. I started back in Grand Tournament. Fuck, that was time ago, man. Yeah, I don't know. I would have to, like, go back and look at the expansions and figure out what was out, but I don't even know if there was expansions. Stop playing a lot. Yeah, Gadgetzan. I'm pretty sure I started playing like before they started doing all that stuff, like the Gadgetzan, the Grand Tournament, the festival one, whatever it was. Like all they stopped, or they weren't doing that in the beginning, and then they started, and then they're still doing that today. I'm pretty sure I started playing like before all that shit. It was time ago, but yeah, I used to just play the Berserker before anybody had a lot of silences. Grand Tournament was the first big expansion, I think. Yeah, I'm not too sure. But yeah, I would just play a Berserker, spam him out. People got so annoying. Noxramas was the first. Yeah, I think it was Noxramas, actually. Yeah, that makes sense. Because I think that was one of the first big WoW raids. So, and like one of the coolest ones, because a big fucking spider. But yeah, I think it was Noxramas. I remember playing that story mission.
a new card and it's added to the game, it makes a brand new interaction that has never been seen before that can just break a card game. And Hearthstone is no exception to this. When Hearthstone was being designed, it was the first main digital card game that they were able to try a bunch of new mechanics because, well, it's a digital card game. While designing the game, they made a minion that completely broke the game's rules that, well, as you can probably guess, broke Hearthstone. Before we get into what the card actually is, we first have to identify what the rules of Hearthstone are. To win a game of Hearthstone, it's very simple. You want to get your opponent's life to 0. If they're at 0, they die. One player gets to go first, and you cannot interact on your opponent's turn whatsoever. In other words, you can only play cards on your turn. If it's your opponent's turn, you have to wait and see what they do. Each player has a specific amount of time on their turn. During each player's turn, the player is allowed to play as many cards as possible until the turn timer runs out. But this does not include animation time. For instance, if I play a card at the very last second, the animation still has to resolve for both players, meaning that it technically goes above the turn limit. This means the player who goes next still has to sit and watch all the animations resolve itself before they can actually do their turn, even though it is their turn. To compensate the animation problem, Blizzard added something into the game known as the slush time. This is extra time given to the player to compensate for the amount of animation they still need to resolve on their client. However, the slush time does not always fully account for the entire length of animations. When I mentioned that a card breaks a
So I thought this was just going to be like a super broken card, like a really, really good card. I think this is just literally going to be a card that basically was not developed properly. It was incorrectly developed and it breaks the slush timer. That's kind of what I'm going to assume from right now.
Card game, I'm not talking in the ways that the client crashes or you get network errors. I'm talking about the core mechanics of the game getting broken. And that's exactly why a card like Nosdormu breaks the game. Nosdormu's effect is players
it might be that too.
15 seconds to take their turns. Now, for a lot of players, they probably thought Nosdormu was a very harmless card.
Yeah,
in fact, this card was released with Hearthstone all the way back in 2014. And in most situations, the card was completely harmless. All it was doing was just limiting the amount of time you had to make decisions and play cards from your hand. But this was only the case for Hearthstone Classic. As you can imagine, with new expansions coming out and new cards being added, there will be more interactions with a card like Nosdormu that have the potential to break a game of Hearthstone. See, the thing about Nosdormu is that it only sets your turn timer to 15 seconds. It does not account for the amount of time an animation can take.
So far, it's seeming like these are multiple cards that is setting this up. But it's one card. I don't know.
Opponent is waiting for an animation to resolve as their turn timer is going down. We have a card that breaks the game. With the release of Black Rock Mountain, their second adventure, which mainly focused on the single player aspect of the game, one of the bosses, High Justice Grimstone, had the ability to summon Nosdormu. And the effect was, well,
my claws that bite, my straws, my jaws that clench, yes.
There's only half. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. I mean, it's time to think. I hate Blizzard for making that card.
Everybody hates Blizzard for one reason or another. Let's be real.
He's taking far more than 15 seconds. This is just so dumb. What the hell? That was not 15 seconds. Blizzard, please. Blizzard. I got literally less than half a second because he wouldn't stop talking. Blizzard. Come on, Blizzard.
Is that why it breaks the game?
To me? Every time.
Wait, is it gonna?
Oh, what the fuck? Wait, it actually worked this time. No! I got 2 seconds!
As you can see, the
he can
player
draw
was not
a card
able to play
with
any
another
cards,
card.
but because the bot's turns are instantaneous, they were able to play as many cards as needed until their turn was finished. Blizzard did the correct thing to hotfix this bug as fast as possible so more players would not have to deal with this issue, but this bug persisted past the hotfix. Even though the issue with Nosdormu was a big problem in terms of solo adventures, Nosdormu's problems were only starting to be.
It has to be more than it just being in the adventures, because otherwise, who the fuck cares? I'm gonna be honest, who cares? It's in an adventures mode. The majority of Hearthstone is either the regular card battle or tavern battles. There has to be more.
Begin. Once players realized that using Nosdormu, you could skip your entire opponent's turn, things got a little bit messy. In almost every single competitive game, if you can find an advantage over
people are gonna cheese the shit out of it now because they know about it.
Your opponents, you're going to use it to make sure that you can win. And some players will use an exploit like Nosdormu. First, we'll start off with the game mode. Tavern Brawl. Tavern Brawl is just like regular Hearthstone going against another player, but usually the game mode is a little bit wonky and fun because they usually try something unique compared to just regular Hearthstone. This specific Tavern Brawl had both players playing an iconic character.
Tavern Brawls is easily one of the best game modes of Hearthstone. It was so fun. It's always something unique. It always forced you to play a certain way, which is one of the worst things about video games, but it did it in one of the best ways video games can do it ever, if not the best, because it actually made it interesting and unique, and not just like you have to sit at a long range and shoot people like in Call of Duty.
Warcraft lore, and this happened.
Just in time.
Uh-oh.
Oh, come on. That was not 15 seconds. What a rip.
The bot gets 15 seconds, though.
Okay. Can I attack or what?
What? He didn't even get it.
In terms of Tavern Brawls, this one was definitely special because you're playing with two unique classes that are not in any other game modes, but the Nosdormu problem still persisted across other Tavern Brawls.
Oh god, it's so hard to do anything.
I didn't realize that was a
I don't
problem.
think you did anything. Wait, what? How is he still playing?
Oh no. What? Jesus Christ.
How the what?
That's like like the timer when you miss 6 or 7 turns, because there's a timer if you don't know Hearthstone a lot. There's a timer when you don't get your turn, or when you don't complete your turn, and I think it's like 5 turns or something, then you have only 3 seconds, and it just goes like over and over and over. You only have a couple seconds because the game realizes you're AFK and it just wants the other guy to kill you as fast as possible. So it does that over and over again. That's literally less time, or like that timer is more time than that guy just got in his fucking turn.
My turn go.
Even though
Yeah, where'd
Hearthstone
my
was a
turn
problem in
go?
Hearthstone, it wasn't a huge problem.
Shit.
There was much bigger problems that the developers had to worry about, so this kind of went to the wayside.
Damn.
That was until they released their next expansion, the Grand Tournament. The Grand Tournament
There you
introduced
go, Ray.
a brand new mechanic into Hearthstone. This mechanic was known as jousting. For every single Hearthstone card, there is a mana cost associated with that card. The higher the number, the more mana it costs to play. The way that jousting worked is that each player would draw a card from their deck. If the card that you drew had a higher mana cost than your opponents, you would win that joust. As you could probably imagine, the jousting mechanic took a very long time to resolve, which means that players could exploit the jousting mechanic with Nozdormu.
Oh no.
Let's see if I can do this.
Now he's doing it.
What?
What?
That didn't work so well. Oh, good enough, I guess.
He only
Alright,
did 2
we have
things.
the jousting here.
That's not bad, dude. Wow. That is OP.
Did we do it?
Did we? Let him know.
Oh, cool. I think we did it. I think we did. That's pretty fast. That's pretty fast.
Yo, he's learning it. That's crazy.
Because of the jousting mechanic, players started to learn that with longer animations, it's much easier to skip your opponent's turn with Nozdormu. And the main way to skip your opponent's turn became using Youthful Brewmaster. Youthful Brewmaster had the effect when played to return a friendly minion from the battlefield to your hand. This animation took a very long time because not only did you have to play the card, you had to bounce the minion back to your hand. If you had 2 Brewmasters and you were very quick at playing them, you were able to skip some of the animation on your client, but for your opponent, they would still have to watch the entire animation.
Drink with me, friend. Drink with me, friend.
No.
Blizzard was a lot faster to react to this issue. As more players than ever were using Nozdormu to skip their opponent's turn, Blizzard released a hotfix on September 3rd, 2015
Ray, did you ever run into that? Because this is when you started. You say you started back in Grand Tournament. Did you ever experience that? Oh my god, that's insane.
2 weeks after the Grand Tournament was released, the hotfix was that Nozdormu no longer interacts with the animations of Joust and Youthful Brewmaster in a manner as to allow portions of the player's turn to be skipped. Blizzard helped the issue of players griefing other players with Nozdormu, but they did not solve all the issues with this card. There was still a bunch more.
This persisted for expansions too. He said earlier in the video, he said, yeah, Blizzard had other things to worry about, so they just left it in the game. They didn't give a fuck. Shit. Fuck them.
Just in time.
Time waits for no one.
It turned out that Blizzard only hotfixed the animations between players, but there was still a bunch of interactions in the game that were causing quite significant issues with Nozdormu. The very next expansion, the League of Explorers, we were introduced to a brand new card that virtually stopped your opponent from playing the game with Nozdormu. The idea was to play Nozdormu and play 2 Curse of...
This is at least 2 expansions later. He said earlier, I think it's like right here. Or no, here. It was Grand Tournament, and then something else came out. I don't know, something else came out. And now we're on the next expansion, and this is still going on,
which add a curse card to your opponent's hand. Because the curse card's animation and effect resolve on your opponent's turn, this would skip their entire turn for the rest of the game, and they couldn't play a single card.
Come on. Don't do anything. Don't do anything. Come on. Please work. Please work. He's trying to play a card. But he can't. Is this actually working?
There was also a lot of visual bugs with Nozdormu, with the main one being that his effect could be multiplied on screen where you literally couldn't even see the game anymore. Even though Blizzard did end up solving a lot of the problems throughout the years, that doesn't mean with more cards being added to the game, there's still going to be other issues with Nozdormu. But there's also the competitive aspect of this card. One of the biggest appeals for Hearthstone is random generation. There are a bunch of cards in this game that randomly generate another card for you to play with within the same match, even though it's not in your deck. And this happens to be the case also in competitive. And since Nozdormu is considered to be a bad card, it's never put into someone's actual deck. The only way we could see it in a competitive match is if it's randomly generated. And the problem with this is that most players who compete in competitive Hearthstone don't play with a 15-second turn timer because they want to make the most optimal play every single turn. Which means when this card is randomly generated in a competitive match, it's breaking the game in the sense that, well, players don't really know what to do.
You don't always have the option to kill off your own Lord Rocket Show, but they do, so they can kind of control. Oh my god, this is the anti-life coach card. Oh my god, life coach is going to lose this game.
Now, the reason why I bring up competitive Hearthstone is because during one expansion, Descent of Dragons, there was a very powerful card that people put into their deck that had a very good random effect. This card was Ysera Unleash, which had the effect to shuffle 7 dream portals into your deck, and when they are drawn, you summon a random dragon. As you could probably guess, Nozdormu is a dragon, and when Nozdormu was summoned by one of these dream portals, the entire opponent's turn would be skipped.
Just in time.
My dream is your nightmare. Stir in my swamp.
That's incredible.
Jesus Christ. How do you even? You can't even do anything.
To take Nozdormu out of the summoning pool for dream portals, and fortunately for the developers, this was the last time that Nozdormu caused a problem. Later, he was rotated into the legacy format, meaning he was no longer in the main popular formats of Hearthstone.
I wonder. Okay, so I know I'm not a game developer, right? Why didn't they just fix this though? Like, why did you not just fix the effect? I feel like it would be pretty easy to, like, the Eternal... Right? But, I mean, I guess it is Blizzard.
Would never be able to cause another problem with a new card or just a game-breaking bug ever again. With that being said, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. If you did end up enjoying it, I would really appreciate a subscription and a like, and I hope you have a great day.
That was a good video. Here, I'm gonna link it real quick. Raw Ran, I believe that's how it's pronounced. That's a channel. It's a good video. Yeah, I'm just confused because you have to go through 4 expansions, 17 fucking bug fixes in order to fix one card that it's... Me logically thinking about it, like, I mean, not from a game developer's perspective, but me logically thinking, okay, the problem is that effects are going on another person's turn and it's still affecting the timer. Let's put in an implementation where we recognize that effects are going on still in the other person's turn and it does not affect the other person's countdown timer, so they just have their turn still. Like, I don't know, it doesn't fucking make sense.